We're now joined by North Central SID Clark Teuscher. Clark, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you, Alec.
Big weekend for both cross-country teams at conference this weekend in the Quad Cities. What's the outlook for both teams this weekend?
Well, both teams should enter the meet as the favorite. They both won last year. On the women's side, they won by 1 point over Wheaton College last year. It looks like they might have a little more of a cushion this year. They've got a front runner in Amanda Leish, who's been at or near the front of just about every race she's been in. Most of those teams ran at the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh Invitational on the 16th. North Central finished ahead of the rest of the conference opponents. So it certainly looks like they're a favorite there. On the men's side, they're looking for number 37 in a row for the team titles there. Michael Spain, he finished the regular season undefeated. There's still some conjecture as to whether he might be the first place finisher at the conference meet. It's kind of been a North Central tradition to allow some other guys to step up when you have victory in hand, like they have had in the past. Last year they had the first 9 finishers at that meet. I don't know if we're deep enough to get that again this year, but certainly a perfect score is a possibility. That would be the 5th time that they've done that in the 2nd year in a row. And
the women's volleyball team wrapped up its conference season earlier this week. And, yeah, they lost a 4-setter to Carthage, but when you consider that they went down with giving a pretty good fight against a team that before this season hadn't lost a conference match in 6 years.
Well, they hadn't finished playing, clearly. They were down pretty decisively in the first set and came back and rallied and decided they were going to, make Carthage make the mistakes and see what they could get out of it. They played that team twice last year on their way to a playoff run and didn't take a set off of them. So for this team to still be showing some resolve and some fight in them, and despite what's happened this season, certainly says a lot about the character of the players on the team.
And only 4 graduating seniors, with Ryan Lally going to be coming back as the setter. The groundwork is in place for them to bounce back in 2011.
Yeah, talent has never been the issue. There's certain other intangibles, leadership and things like that, that they've been struggling with a little bit on the court. So once they can get those figured out and have people decide to step up and lead the way for the younger players, they could have some good things happen.
And both swimming and diving teams kick off their seasons in Bloomington this last weekend. And for both teams, a couple of bright spots emerged with some good finishes.
Yeah, they're still not in a numbers position where they can really contend for team titles at a lot of events, but certainly some great individual performances. They're still, swimming, it's one of those sports where they just kind of beat them up for 2 or 3 months and then they taper off and really swim fast. So they're still in that build-up phase right now. So to see the kind of times that they're posting, it's certainly encouraging for later in the season.
And onto the soccer pitch, the women's team gets the draw out of Carthage, and with its last 2 conference matches, has a chance to finish pretty strong.
Yeah, they scored on about a 40-yard goal against Carthage. I'm sure that keeper hasn't allowed too many of those, but it was just placed correctly, and got a chance to score a win or 2 here the last week of the regular season. So certainly an encouraging end of the season for that group.
And the men's squad has a very young team. Defense has been really solid for them this season, but the problem seems to be putting the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, 1-0's good enough to beat you still. So they've had a lot of problems in the conference. A lot of close losses. It doesn't take much to turn those into wins, but they've got to find out what that missing ingredient is to get that turned over for them.
And the wrestling squad opens its season next weekend in Dubuque. Who are the couple of leaders we can expect individually for this Cardinal squad?
I think Nathan Fitzenreiter certainly is the leader in terms of performance. He's certainly the most accomplished of those wrestlers, and he's certainly going to be the focal point for any of the opponents. But there's actually a pretty large stable of other athletes coming in and fighting for varsity positions. So it could be very interesting, and the lineup could completely turn over from one meet to the next. So still a lot of questions to be answered there.
Well, thanks, Clark, for coming by.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have for this week's Red Zone. Cardinal football is on the road this weekend at Elmhurst with opening kick at 1 p.m. Check in next week for a full recap of that game, along with a preview of the battle for the Little Brass Bell. I'm Alex Simmons. We hope to see you then.